All right. Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast. Good morning still to those of you on the West Coast. Welcome to This Week in Pop Culture, the show in which we give you the goings on in the past said week in pop culture, whether we're talking about film and TV news, sports news, tech news, and the like. We try to bring you up to speed so that way you are not left in the wind. I'm your host, Brandon Choi, and of course, I'm not going to be alone in talking about the said topics over this past said week. So without further ado, I want to welcome my co-host, Mr. Spielman Trueheart, aka Spills. What's going on, sir?
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? How are we doing today? We're back after a little hiatus. We've been
Little
gone for a few
hiatus for sure.
weeks.
Yes,
Brandon's been
much needed.
traveling. I went to a Commanders game. I was doing good things. So we're having a great time. How's everybody doing out there? I hope everybody's having a good September so far.
For sure, for sure. Even though we are midway in September, it's crazy to believe that we're halfway into this month already, well into the fall season. But Spillman, there were a couple of things. I know, as you said, there's been a few weeks hiatus, if you will, or a couple of weeks of buys, if you will. But we did have some news in the world of comic book film adaptations, whether we're talking about the world of DC or Marvel. But before we get to that, of course, we're going to also talk about some other topics, and the one of the primary ones that we'll be discussing this week is in the world of sports. We had a couple of birthdays this week, and wanted to be able to highlight that because one is an active player still doing his thing, and the other has since retired in the time since, but left his mark in the league. So without further ado, shall we dive in?
Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, excellent, excellent. So before we do that, I just wanted to give you guys a reminder that if you guys are watching us live, very much appreciated if you are. However, if you catch this episode after the fact, there will be an effort to have things timestamped so that way you can skip forwards and backwards through some of the topics that are discussed on this edition of the show. So with that, I'm going to get into our first topic. And as I said, it's going to start in the world of sports with our segment known as Sports Cooler Talk. As we had two birthdays, one with a retired player and Mr. Ben Wallace, as well as Jimmy Butler, who is celebrating a birthday. So let me bring that up now. We're going to start first with Mr. Wallace. This past week on Wednesday, he celebrated his 51st birthday. Obviously, if you don't know Mr. Wallace, a legend in the league, having a resume that many would covet, the former 2001, 2002 NBA blocks champion, two-time NBA rebounds champion, also boasts 4 NBA All-Star selections, 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards, 5 NBA All Defensive First Team selections, and an NBA title in the 2003-2004 season. Spillman, your thoughts on the Piston great and him celebrating his 51st birthday? Man, it's crazy to believe that he's 51 now. I feel old.
Oh yeah, we are not spring chickens anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But I have to say, we cannot say profanity on this podcast, but I have to say some choice words about Ben Wallace because he ruined the Shaq and Kobe Lakers forever.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
after
sure
that
did.
after we went
They
through
blew that
Detroit,
team up.
we shipped Shaq to Miami and totally rebuilt. I feel like Ben Wallace, like people, some people on this podcast try to poo-poo the stars of yesterday. But defense wins championships. Somebody like Ben Wallace very much proves that. Sure, they didn't go to multiple championships behind Ben Wallace. There were some other players that came in there that came into their stratosphere, but Hall of Famer, great, all-time great. Big time Richmond player because he went to Virginia Union. Um, but I just, I can't say enough about Ben Wallace in this game. Uh, I think that we get our heads because, they argue that Spurs Pistons finals that they lost was the boringest finals of all time. But I think that Ben Wallace and the way that he played the game and the way that his attention to detail and his elite nature, 4 defensive players of the year, you're never going to see that again. I just think he's one of the greats, and he just did everything that he can. I just think he's one of the greats.
Indeed, indeed, and I mean, and speaking about Ben Wallace, here's yet another example where, and we, I feel like we've had this conversation before, Spills, where we've had players that have been Washington Wizards, or if you're really going to age, folks out there, a Washington Bullet, and of course they have their stint in Washington, and once that said player leaves Washington, they somehow come across a lot of success and end up winning a championship, and you're like, why can't that same player somehow bring that same energy, with the Wizards, where it's like you don't know if it's just a jinx that the Wizards have going on, or the Bullets, as I said, based
It's
on
a star-crossed franchise.
who you are. But there's so many players, especially with this Pistons team, that they played a stint with Washington, and after that they took off. I mean, we could talk about Rasheed Wallace, we could talk about Rip Hamilton, we could talk about Ben Wallace. I mean, specifically, in this case, when we're talking about the Pistons, where it's just insane, where you like, at some point we had all of these players on the team, and we were not able to maximize on the talent that they brought to the table, and they were able to take that talent somewhere else and secure a championship. So insane, insane. But yeah, just as you said, I fully agree with you. Just that idea that, and I've brought it up, is that no matter how talented a player is offensively, and don't get me wrong, like I talk about Steph Curry on here a lot, and he's like one of my favorite players. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about the postseason, when you really have to, grind, and it's not a situation where you're like feeling out another, the teams are filling each other out because they may not see each other again. It's a no holds barred, like, brawl, because you're specifically honed in on this one team that you have in this that you're facing in this series. So you get to know things in a far more detailed way when we're talking about these matchups. And because of that, that defensive intensity and that need to have defense is far more pivotal than being able to get the ball in the basket. Because a lot of times you're not going to be able to rely on that, and you're going to have to fall back on the defense. And he's a key example of that, of what he brought to the table with the Pistons. So again, happy birthday to Ben Wallace. As I said, on Wednesday celebrated his 51st birthday. We did have a birthday today, so shout out to him for celebrating his 36th birthday. And I showed it here just a moment ago, and that's with Jimmy Butler the third, celebrates his 36th birthday. And as I said, still doing his thing. He's still in the league. His resume speaks for itself. Six-time All-Star, Eastern Conference Finals MVP for the 2022-2023 season, the Kia NBA Most Improved Player for the 2014-2015 season, and the NBA Steals Champion for 2020 to 2021 season. So again, a player who brings a lot of defensive pedigree. But I feel if we're comparing, Butler to Wallace, a far more capable and talented offensive player than Ben Wallace was. So currently plays with my team, of course, with the Golden State Warriors. But shout out to him. Happy birthday. Your thoughts on Mr. Butler?
I think Jimmy's one of the great players in the league right now. He's a bit of a locker room cancer, but
He
most of the
can
people
be.
that most of the people he complained about, he be right about. Like I feel
Yeah,
like,
he
I
just
feel like
doesn't sugarcoat stuff.
a lot of teams try to protect people's feelings instead of being like, Jimmy's actually right, but they don't want to say Jimmy's right about people. Like he was right about Cat Cat when Cat was not doing what he needed to do. It's like, hey, this is a high draft pick. This guy's 7 feet tall. He's supposed to be tougher. We need him to be tougher. We can't win if he's not tougher.
Right.
Um, talking about some of the players that he's been around. And just the hard nosed defense. I feel like these are two guys in NBA history who are known for defense, who carried elite teams, sometimes have overachieved because of defense. Because I feel like because of the way that the counting stats are in the game of basketball, defense isn't really as quantified as it is in other sports. Like there's no line of scrimmage to be like, oh yeah, this defense has most teams three and out. Like there's no way to
Yeah.
really quantify that in football terms. Or his ERA is so low, like no one can hit him. Like that's the thing in baseball, but it's really not quantifiable in basketball. And I feel like a lot of people overlook that because of it. But
Yeah.
Jimmy Butler is one of the all-time greats. We beat him in the 2020 finals. He didn't help y'all win no chips. So,
Here we
maybe.
go. Here we go. I knew this was coming. Come on. Come on. But
No.
all jokes aside, I will say this in that um talking about the importance of a defense is that there there was there is a stat there that demonstrates that he has been able to create offense from his defense and being a steals leader. You know, so much we were talking about a lot of being able to stop the other team, but in his case, he's also been able to produce offense from that said
Hmm.
defense too. When you're getting those steals, that means that you're increasing in the most simplest sense of the word, getting more possessions for your team, which obviously can result in more offense, for your said team. So again, a player who really has made his reputation on his defense, but as he has continued in his career, he has cemented himself as a capable scorer as well. As heard there with the most improved player award that he has sustained. I guess what was that 2014 2015 season? So nearly a decade ago, which is wild, and he's still doing his thing in the league, and actually is a effective and capable player still in the league. But with that, I don't know what your thoughts out there are regarding Jimmy Butler the third, or even Mr. Ben Wallace. Let us know in the comments your memories with those said players. Maybe the Pistons is your team. I know they weren't my team around that time, but I could appreciate what they brought to the table defensively. And then also with Jimmy Butler and the journey that he's had, whether we're talking about what was it, the Bulls, whether we're talking about the T Wolves, whether we're talking about the Miami Heat, and now with the Warriors. So let us know. But with that, we're going to get into our main topic story. I know we had a little glitch there, so you already got a tease of it, but you can see it here in the background in talking about two of the topics of film adaptations that we have across two said houses, whether we're saying DC or with the MCU, and and talking about these two properties. We'll begin first with the Man of Steel sequel, or the Superman sequel, however way you want to coin it, as the Superman director James Gunn shared that the plan is for the next film to begin shooting in April 2026. That film being Superman Man of Tomorrow, set to arrive in theaters on July 9th, 2027. The sequel, which includes the subtitle, as I mentioned, Man of Tomorrow, will see Superman having to work with Lex Luthor to take down a bigger threat. So, Spills, your thoughts on getting a Superman sequel shooting so soon. Are you for it, for us to get a sequel this soon, or are you concerned that they're rushing it too soon?
I think they need to get on the road with these sequels. The DCEU is not really doing that well. I mean, they've obviously rebooted it, so they're starting over. But they need to make sure that they are doing well with these characters, and they need to bank them and make them into these stars that they spend a lot of money on. I think that it's very important that we see this new movie. I think, as you can see, if you look down at my little blurb, that I think that they should make, that Twilight Batman needs to be in this. I like Twilight Batman. He's a great guy. Sure, in the movie with Twilight Batman, it seems like he don't have no he doesn't have metahumans in the Gotham of his world, which doesn't make sense with the world of this Superman. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with them not having Gotham metahumans. But it just seems like this new
There you go.
Superman. It was a great movie. I know I went on a tangent, ladies and gentlemen, but I like Twilight Batman. I like Twilight Batman. He's a good guy. I think he's a good fit for this universe. People fear him. He doesn't seem like he has powers, but he seems like he has powers, and that's what is really scary. But I just think that the new Superman movie, the one that we just had this summer, was a blockbuster. I really enjoyed it. It was accessible to the casual fan, and I like what James Gunn has done with it. I think James Gunn is a very good director. He takes his time with these kind of characters and makes them authentic and seem real. So I'm all for it. I don't know how you feel, but I'm all for it. How do you feel?
So I'll say this, and it's funny that we have this topic coming up because there's an event that's going on here in the DC metropolitan area. You probably saw it a couple of shows ago. That show being the Small Press Expo, and speaking to that show, it's a show that provides a avenue for a lot of independent creators, whether we're talking about comics or animation, and those that fall outside of the main big houses that we have, right? Whether we're talking our Marvels and our DC, and running, whenever you go into these cons, you run into a lot of friends and colleagues and associates that you've met over time and going to a lot of these shows. So I'll give a shout out right now. Shout out Drew Bittner, where we were having a conversation and talking about what they've been doing thus far with this universe. And one thing that I can say with this film is, going into it, I was a little skeptical of whether they would be able to effectively and um, utilizing the various components that they had, that they were going to be incorporating in the film. You're trying to establish this DC universe. You're world building with a lot of the characters that you're introducing, these new iterations of these characters, because we just had the Zack Snyder iteration of the universe. So now we're getting a brand new spin on this universe. And to their credit, to Mr. Gunn's credit, like that film was able, I feel, to balance, and that was the word I was looking for. It was able to balance a lot of things pretty well. And one thing that I really give it credit for is its use of Lex Luthor, because I feel, and some people out there may disagree with me, but I feel like in other iterations that we've had with Lex Luthor in the past, cinematically, is that he's been more of a nuisance than he has been a credible threat. And I feel like in this film, they made Lex Luthor a credible threat, where because of his intellect, and we know that Lex Luthor, is able to be on par with a lot of the superhuman characters because of his intellect, because of his resources. And we saw that demonstrated in this film, that allowed us to see those components of what he brings to the table, that allows him regardless of how powerful Superman may be, to be able to contend with Superman because of those very things, because of his endless resources, because of his intellect and his ambition. Like he's able to be a viable threat to Superman. And so that was one of the big things that I appreciated with the film. And then I mean there were other characters too, and I'll try to keep it short, but there were other characters too that while they may not be big household name, splashy superhero names, they were still provided their time and their moment in the film to really demonstrate what they were capable of. So with that being said, I we'll see what happens with this upcoming sequel. Um, Gunn so far hasn't really demonstrated any issues of the projects that have happened thus far. All the projects that he has done and that he has brought to the DCU have been terrific. Terrific. Whether we're talking about the Suicide Squad, whether we're talking about Creature Commanders, whether we're talking about this film, he's demonstrated you know a, an ability to be able to balance a lot of various things in these said universes when we're dealing with tons of characters, an ensemble of characters, which is not an easy feat. So he hasn't stolen me wrong yet. So I have faith that he will knock it out of the park again. Of course, time will tell, but as I said, he hasn't stolen me wrong yet. So, any last thoughts before we get on to other the other topic on hand with Marvel?
Just yet again, just like in the comic books, DC be stealing people from Marvel to make their stuff actually look good again. Like, you know, we like Batman because they took the guy from Marvel and they made him do for DC what they did with Marvel. So it's a formula that's worked for them. So that's pretty smart.
For sure, for sure. And with that, we're gonna talk about the other said component of this main topic story. And as I said, on one end we have DC, on the other we have Marvel, and this is centered around the story that has dropped a few days ago, that being on Thursday. And this is thanks to the Walt Disney Marketing Expo in Shanghai. Fans were provided their first official look at Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom in the upcoming Avengers Doomsday. And I'll bring that up for you guys now. So, in addition to an official still, which you see here of the villain, the expo also demonstrated a tease of what the character would be capable of, thanks to laser projections of the character on his throne, as well as sequences of him using his powers as with the Avengers theme playing in the background. Also included in the projections that were demonstrated, we saw reveals of logos for the Avengers, for Black Panther, for the Fantastic Four, and of course the X-Men. Scheduled to drop on December 18th, 2026, the film, in typical Avenger form, will be a major crossover film that finds a variety of teams, which I mentioned just prior: the Avengers, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, and the Thunderbolts, taking on Downey's Doctor Doom. So, Spills, your thoughts on what was shown of this character? Do you like the look or do you hate it?
I feel like it's not the look of the Doctor Doom that we're worried about with these situations because we've seen him look very cool. He looked cool when he first came out in the original, well, not the original, but I guess we can call him the Chris Evans,
Yeah, the prior,
Fantastic Four.
yeah, prior Fantastic Four, the early 2000s.
Um,
You say early
the early
2000s.
2000s, the Jessica Alba ones. That's the one we really was looking at. No, I'm kidding. But Doctor Doom looks cool. Obviously we like the mask and stuff. We like them Doom bots. Doom bots are cool, but I think that if we don't feel like he's a scary villain, then it won't work. Like I feel like they kind of went weird to make it be Robert Downey Jr. I get that Robert Downey Jr. is their box office guy, and I'm sure he was tired of playing Iron Man all the time. But I just don't see how this really will work. I'm a little bit afraid, honestly. I'm afraid, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think that they um, will do good with this. I think it's grasping at straws to trying to keep something going. When they could have just made a regular Doctor Doom character, um, you know, the fact that now Robert Downey Jr. probably has to play Doctor Doom the rest of the time is kind of weird to me. I don't like that. Um, I wish that they would have cast someone else, honestly. I think, there's Eastern European looking and heritage actors that can really pull it off, but I really just think that Doctor Doom being such a big villain in the verse, I think that if they get this wrong this time, they'll never get it right. So we'll see what they do. I don't know how you feel about it.
So, first, what I want to do, I want to give you guys a look at. I know I was mentioning the laser projection that they had, so I'm gonna bring that up first, and then I'm gonna share my thoughts. So, give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to get this up for you guys. Let's see here. See if it will decide to cooperate and come up. Media streams from the. Okay, so I'll try to finagle with that a little bit more, but my thoughts on it are this, and I understand your issues with it, or your hesitation. I'm sure that's a hesitation that a lot of people have when we're talking about the prospect of having Robert Downey Jr. as Doctor Doom. Uh, I'll I'll be honest. I would have liked to see another actor take on that role. I already had it in my head of some characters who could play that role. I'm brain farting on his name now. You guys can let me know in the comments. But um, I feel like you need someone who can be expressive with their face, and they can act through a lot of the makeup, or act through the mask. When we're talking about that type of film, I feel like, and I'm trying to remember what the actors. Dan Stevens. I don't know if you know Dan Stevens, Spillman, but I'm sure of those of you out there, if we're talking about the series Legion, he was the main actor playing Legion. He's a terrific actor, and I feel like he would have been a great Doctor Doom. I feel like he's young enough too, where if we are using that character in a franchise related capacity of being across multiple films, that I feel like he would be terrific for that role. He's demonstrated that he's able to do accents, and I feel like he has the gravitas, or the presence, if you will, to do a character like Doctor Doom, who's conniving, who's smart, who's ambitious. Like, I feel like you would be able to incorporate all of those elements for that character. Another one, and I know a lot of people may feel one way or another about this, is I'm trying to think of the Hannibal series. I feel like he would have been Mads Mikkelsen. I feel like he would have been a terrific Doctor Doom, even though we've already had him in the Doctor Strange universe. I feel like people would forgive having an actor play another role, because we've seen it happen before. You were just mentioning Fantastic Four with Chris Evans, where Chris Evans was what is it, the Human
Human
Torch
Torch.
in that universe, and now we have him as Captain America, and they were able to make fun of that in the Deadpool movies, and when people were expecting Captain America to say Avengers Assemble. So I feel like people are forgiving enough where if the character fits the fits the character that they are cast as, regardless of them playing another character, that they would be forgiving. And I feel like it's long ago enough where he was under that character, was under some makeup as a character where if you change the character enough in terms of their appearance, they'll be able to make peace with the same actor playing two different roles. So I do understand why they felt like they had to do um, Robert Downey Jr. And I can't take credit for this. I'm sure it's been explained in but so many ways in various types of manners. But in essence, when we're talking, just like you said, when we're talking about a character of his caliber, it would be hard to get a brand new actor to take on that role when you have to m- make so much. You have to get go through so much groundwork to be able to introduce that character into the fold. And by having someone that's a face that's recognizable, is easier to kind of curtail that or to skip that part. Versus in the past where they have an actor, he embodies that character for like 5, 10 years. They don't have that luxury, so they decided to kind of curtail that by having a recognizable face and utilizing the fact that it is a recognizable face to have that character and have that character have um, have merit or have value. So, um, but I do like the look that they have here. Um, it's a cool look that they utilize with the character. When we're talking about the look that we have here, um, very stylized. It doesn't look like a cheap. They could have gone very cheap and just made it simply a robe and a very simple metallic mask, but it looks pretty stylized. It looks pretty cool. I do like the gauntlets there and all that. So I have hope. I have hope of what the Russo brothers are able to cook up. They again, just like in talking about what is it, James Gunn. Whenever they've done a Marvel movie, forget about any other project that they had, but whenever they have done a Marvel project, it has been terrific. Whether we're talking about Winter Soldier, whether we're talking about Civil War, whether we're talking about Infinity War or Endgame, they've always produced something phenomenal. So I'm going to go under that same assumption when we're talking about Doomsday, and then of course later on when we get Secret Wars. But I'm going to be cautiously optimistic of what's in store. But any last thoughts before we wrap up here? And I'm gonna try to see if I can try to get this laser show going. But go ahead.
I just want to say the as far as the mask, to me, I think they should have gone with the MF Doom mask. That would have been very cool, and a nod to us, comic book nerd rap fans. I feel
Hmm.
like MF Doom carried the Doom moniker very well.
Okay.
He even had fake Dooms at his shows. So I hope that they at least put some of his music in the movie. I think that'll be a nod, like they did with the OG Iron Man movie, where they had you know Tony Stark's himself, Ghostface Killer playing when they
Hmm.
had the plane scene. So we'll see. I just think that the Doctor Doom character is just such an important character for um Marvel comic books. I mean, sure, he's a Fantastic Four villain, but really he's a Marvel villain. Like, and he's almost in the same vein as like a Joker, where the Joker is a bad guy to everybody. Not like even Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's really just a Superman bad guy. We talk about Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom may fight Spider Man. He might fight the X Men. He might go into space and fight the with Doctor Strange or on the astral plane or something like that. So I just think that because Doctor Doom just represents so much, I think that we should really they should really not mess this up, because if they mess this up, it's crazy. I did also see. I don't know if this is a rumor or anything. I saw that they are trying to bring back Kang. So we'll see. What did you hear about that as well?
I did hear about that, and hold on, I think I might have this going for us. See if I can get this up, and then
Uh
I'll
oh. Uh oh.
answer
Y'all see
your.
that? Brandon got swag stuff we ain't getting. You see that stuff we ain't getting? He's got stuff that we
Answer
ain't
your
getting.
question. Hold on.
Uh oh.
Da, 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 da. All right, here we go. Remove our friend here and get this one up. There we go. Okay. All right. So da, 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 da. So they have this was the laser demonstration that they had. So we see the gauntlet there with Doom, and I don't have it playing right now, but if you can imagine that they're having the Avengers theme that they are playing over all of this. And I know that they get into some more here. So give it 1 second; it's about to come up. So they're just demonstrating Doom here, him with his mask and his hood, of course. And then they get into some of the logos and things. But yeah, I mean, in answering your question, I have seen those rumors out there. Who knows? I've heard all types of things. I've heard that they are doing that they are bringing the character back, but it may not be with the same actor. That they'll recast it
Mm-hmm.
with someone else, and try to wrap up that story thread. So who knows? There's been so much out there about what they plan on doing, but I mean, I could see them doing that because they've already kind of gone down that route, and they still need to wrap it up, regardless of what's happening outside the world of the movies. So, but yeah, as I said, they're showing Doom here with being on the throne, and then they get into each of, and they show him flying, and then they get into each of the logos for the various teams, as I said, that we know will go up against Doom, which was already revealed to a degree because we had that chair watch that happened a little
Mm-hmm.
while back, where we were seeing the names of the various cast members, which we saw included not just the X-Men, not just the Avengers, but also the Fantastic Four and the Thunderbolts. And out of the X-Men team, we had a lot of OG names that were popping up, whether it's Ian McKellen or Patrick Stewart or Alan Cumming. So should be interesting. And as I said, the Russo brothers um, have not done wrong by me when we're talking about any Marvel projects that they've done. So I'm cautiously optimistic that, considering all the different pieces that they kind of have to have work together, that they will figure out a way to pull it out. So, but yeah, as I said, there you guys go. Try to see if I can fast forward to some of the logos here. Um, let's see. So yeah, there you go. So the Avengers, um, Black Panther, and then Fantastic Four, and of course, finishing it all off with the X Men. So that is going to do it for this edition of This Week in Pop Culture. As always, I want to thank my co-host, Mr. Spillman Trueheart, for hopping on and joining. Um, let's see. I like it. I like it. Pointing down to the Twilight Batman for
Twilight
DC.
Batman, ladies and gentlemen.
But
I
can you tell
am.
folks where they can find you?
Y'all can find me on Instagram. We can talk about Twilight Batman there. Sure, he don't be running, but Batman shouldn't run. Every time he runs, his helmet be moving around and stuff, and he doesn't look as scary. But when he walks up on you, you're like, why is he walking? Oh, to punch people in the face. So I think that Twilight Batman. Here you go. Hashtag Twilight Batman. And we should bring him into DCU EU. But you can find me on Instagram at Truly Spill, and we can talk about Twilight Batman there.
All right, there you go. Make sure you catch up with Spills talking Twilight Batman. But I'm your host, Brandon Choi, co-creator of Movers and Shakers Unlimited. You can find me at Brandon Choi ENT on X, and then Brandon Choi underscore ENT on Instagram. With that being said, I want to also give a shout out to our Patreon supporters. I want to be able to recognize you all as well. Thank you so much for your support. Help keep the lights on in terms of the various things we do in order to bring this show to you. So thank you guys so much. If you aren't a Patreon supporter, you can also be one as well, as there are a whole bunch of tiers that you can have in terms of different things that are available to you. So, check us out on Patreon. But other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Be safe out there. And of course, guys, see y'all soon. Peace.
Twilight Batman, ladies and gentlemen. Twilight.